I think it is. Welcome back to the Tribute Games podcast. The Tribute Games podcast is where us Tribute Games talk about making games here in our little studio in Montreal. Talking to you right now is Yannick Velzil. I am the social media manager for Tribute Games, and I'm also the writer. And at my left, there's...
Dom 2D, I'm a game designer.
Jonathan, I'm a game designer and also the president of the company.
Big boss.
Yes.
Big boss.
in front of me, there's...
Justin, I'm the hack from way back.
Yes.
Stefan, artist.
Jean-François, programmer.
Carl Kerschel, comic book artist.
Andy, programmer.
I have full house.
Yes,
I have the
house.
whole company and an extra.
The whole company is at the mic tonight, which is great. Guys, have you played anything notable this week? Had fun? Noticed anything in games this week?
Oh,
What's up?
Oh, really?
Yes.
I played Destiny.
Yeah!
I almost bought Destiny again, but didn't.
Again?
So,
You have to.
who's the real boss of the company?
I'm still the boss. So we set up like 2 TV screens and we plan on like playing some co-op Destiny at work.
Yeah, we need a second PlayStation 4 though.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't even have one PlayStation 4.
So that's where the Kickstarter money went.
Yeah. It's fully job related.
So, if there's not more, then we should move to the topic of the day, unless there's more.
Carl hasn't been on a podcast for a while.
I haven't been here, but I've heard myself speak on this podcast.
That's right.
Even though I wasn't here.
Yes.
No, I've been. I talked to you guys a little about it yesterday, but I based on listening to the my absentee podcast. I listened to you guys talk a bunch about Fantasy Life, so I bought it because it sounded like the perfect game, and now I've been playing it for.
So is it
many hours?
is it good for you?
It's amazing. It's exactly what I wanted right now. It's laid back, but still has some purpose. It's got enough forward momentum to keep me interested and occupied while still being laid back enough to go and, mine or whatever in my off time. It's been amazing. It's been really great.
On Monday, I mastered one of the classes.
Oh, yeah.
And during the ending of that master class, whatever, it crashed.
Oh! Did
And
you lose the
I
progress?
lost about like 3 hours of progress.
Wait,
and
so it gives you kind of like a cutscene or something when you
Well, we
master-
won't spoil it.
Okay.
But there's something when you finish it, when you
All right.
master a class.
That's cool.
It crashes.
It crashes. So yeah, I didn't know there were like hard crashes on 3DS, but yes, there are.
Huh.
And I was really pissed. I was like, oh, what? I don't want to try this again. I don't want to play those 3 hours of collecting wood again. Like, this is dumb. Why am I playing this game? And the next day I did it again.
Did it crash again?
No, it was fine. But it's weird because it feels like you're grinding when you're losing that progress. But
I'm also playing Fire Emblem Awakening recently, and I have the same feeling every time a character dies and I have to start over because you play for like between half an hour and an hour and a half depending on the maps, and one of your character dies and you have to start over because you don't want your character to.
Yeah, I think that's why it took me like a year and a half to finish that game. Because every time I would lose a character that I don't want to lose, I would stop playing for like a week and like, I don't want to play this again.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks later, I'm like, why have I not finished Fire Emblem? I don't know.
But that's the game, right? I mean, you're just constantly losing people. It's not a bug or anything. You're just always having
You're
characters
supposed
who die.
to accept the fact that some of your characters will die, but you don't. So you start over.
It's kind of sad for the characters that I did let die. Because I'm like, hey, it's not important enough for me to start this mission over. So some of them did die, but some of them...
Didn't XCOM have a similar vibe? Yeah.
XCOM was really good, the latest one.
It's weird too because like everyone that plays that game complains about that feature, and yet it's the one feature that sets it apart from like so many similar games like it. Like everyone's like, I hate this, and it's like, but it's what makes it.
Yeah, it enforces the strategy of it because since you don't want your characters to die, you make an effort to play well and not let any characters in danger or anything.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish they did was like have it faster to restart the missions if someone died, because you have to like skip like 5 or 6 cutscenes usually just to get back into the action.
Yeah, usually I just press the home button and restart the whole game.
That's what I do.
There's actually a faster way to do it if you hit the right left trigger and like start.
Oh yeah,
It'll restart it inside of the game. So you don't have to.
Andy's hot tip of the week.
It's still really long. Like I've died a lot in Fire Emblem, but I just started this weekend. So.
Did you guys know about Fire Emblem before Smash Brothers?
Yes.
I did, only because I listened a lot to the 8-4 podcast and they localized it, so they were talking about it a lot.
I didn't, but each time like there's a new Smash Brothers and they reveal Fire Emblem characters, I'm like, wish I could get excited about those guys, but I've never played it. It's not like when Mega Man showed up, I was like, oh, this is great. But then when it's the Fire Emblem characters, I'm like, yes, this is great, but I don't know them.
Yeah, it's been Japanese exclusive games for a long time. The first ones were released on Game Boy Advance, so it's not as well known here as in Japan.
But it's old from like the Famicom days, wasn't it?
But it's really good that they basically put a lot of money and effort into this one because they were saying that it's the last one they would try to put in America.
Okay.
So that's why it's so like full featured and has like a ton of maps, a ton of characters and like customization and all that and children and all that. But it's because it was their last gamble. They were like, we have to try one last time. And it totally worked out for them because that game is polished as hell. And
yeah, and it seems to be really well received too. Like,
yes. It sold gangbusters, and they're going to do another one for sure.
It sold gangbusters in North America?
Yeah.
Wow.
It sold, I think the last number I saw was like 5 times what they were hoping for.
Wow.
So.
It's from all the Smash Brothers. Like people really finally wanted to get excited about these characters. So
No,
they
it's
had to play.
it's just an actual good game. It's really, really
I
good.
don't think so.
I think Tumblr helped a lot too, because they would put a lot of people would put fan art and like fan fiction. It re-spread to the teens and the kids.
That's sort of fun when that happens, though. When the game sort of reaches a new audience just from the memeing and the GIFs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, I also want to mention really quickly that, like, on a whim, it was a freebie on PlayStation Plus. I downloaded Luftrausers.
Yeah.
I played that. That game is really fun.
It's really hard.
It's really hard, but when I first started, I didn't know anything about it. And I thought, like, and they give you, like, a really quick tutorial. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, these controls are messed up. Like, I couldn't do anything. And then, as I got accustomed to it, I found it really... What is it? Really fun. Luftrausers. It's a Blambeer game.
Oh, the
It's like, it's like a German pilot.
Yeah.
You're just customizing different planes, and it's kind of like playing like asteroids or something. Right?
Yeah.
But it's not like a auto-scrolling shoot 'em up. It's more like you're on a map, a 2D map, and you're flying around, and you can go up to the clouds or down in the water.
The whole thing is like 3 colors.
Yeah, I have to get that.
Yeah.
Pretty good. There's not a lot to it. Like, there's maybe like 4 bosses that you can beat. Like, there's how do you call those? Dirigibles.
Yeah. One of my objectives was to defeat one of those blimps, but I never actually saw one.
So there's basically, I think there's like 3 of those kind of big bosses, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else to it.
I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, it's
like it was just a simple. I didn't feel oppressive at all. I just thought, this is kind of fun. I played it for like 2 hours.
You gonna play Nuclear Throne after that?
I don't know anything about it.
It's like their other game.
Oh wow, no,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
It has not a lot of links to Luftrausers, but it has the same really good control feel, like satisfying explosions. Explosions are their specialty, basically.
I'm actually playing a pretty good shoot 'em up right now on iPhone. It's called Skyforce, and it's really tight. It's really everything's super well done.
Yeah, the controls are really good for a touch.
Yeah, that's the surprising part.
Yeah.
It's really, and it was free.
Yeah, it's free.
Probably still.
Is anyone playing Monument Valley?
Yeah.
You need to tell me about it. I don't know anything about it.
It's just beautiful.
I just keep seeing links to it.
You're basically playing in MC Escher kind of levels, but it's like super smooth.
Like
and
Echochrome kind of thing?
A little bit like Echochrome, yeah. But it feels like there's I think, like 8 or 10 levels, and it's really small, but it's really, you take it at your own rhythm. There's no challenge really. It's just about figuring it out. It's like each level is a toy that you can play around with and try to get your guy to reach the end. It's really fun. It's really
There's no real challenge. It's just
But
nice.
it's puzzle, right?
Yeah, but they're really, really simple.
Oh, okay.
So it's mostly just to look at
pretty
the
things.
graphics. Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's the most graphic game I've seen.
Sold.
Have you guys played Kingdom Rush? I think it's on Steam also. It's a tower defense game. It was on iOS before and on Flash. It's one of the best tower defense games ever. Like, it's really, actually really good. It's really deep. And a new one just came out yesterday, and I'm excited to play the new one. It has a lot of different towers that you can customize and upgrade, and it's really hard also, because I suck at strategy games. Anyway.
It's okay to admit those failures here, because you're in a circle of trust. That's what the True
really?
Game podcast is. There's no judging, there's just acceptance.
Okay, I killed a man once.
See how this terrible news is greeted? With laughter and understanding. It's what's great here. We're going to move on to the topic of the week, which a couple of weeks ago we asked for listener questions, and one of those questions was from Mike Horowitz. And he wanted to know, like, what about Kickstarter, like, what lessons did we learn from it, and if you would use it again, and just thoughts of crowdfunding for games in general. So I thought we could talk about that this week. And given that we have our twin presidents here, that they could talk about using Kickstarter for financing Mercenary Games, which was our first big game. So guys, can you tell us, like, why did you guys decide to have a Kickstarter first and stuff like that back in 2012?
Well, we had no choice, or the company wouldn't be what it is right now. It was like we were at a point where we needed some funding to be able to keep making games, because Wizorb was some kind of success, but not enough to keep us like running long enough for like to let us make another game, because for a lot of reasons Wizorb was only $3, so you don't make a lot of revenue from that.
You need to sell a ton to make a ton.
And
the team was getting bigger. Also,
the
scope of working was ridiculous.
Yeah, we wanted to make a bigger game. We wanted to make something bigger to allow ourselves to be known a little bit more, like to be able to like
set yourself on the back.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't have the money to do that. So Kickstarter seemed like a good idea, because we tried to get funding from publishers, but the deals were never in our favor.
Mm-hmm. So there was really rarely any money up front, or like it was mostly marketing promises, and so that's not really what we were looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess publishers don't need to give money up front to people. They just have to wait for games to come to their door now, like fully made games.
They still have to, I think, go fishing, but yeah, I think that's how publishers work these days. There's so many games coming out that they can just try to contact anyone and see if anyone's gonna
give them their games.
Yeah, usually these days they already have a game project, like a license or something, and they go fishing for a company that is willing to do work for hire to make that game. But that wasn't our case. We wanted to make something original. We needed funding for that. Publishers weren't ready to take that risk.
Yeah, they don't want to invest in an IP that they don't own.
Yeah.
As well, so
why Kickstarter and not some kind of business loan or independent investment?
I think that we could have went for a loan, but the risk of that is a bit higher for us than with a Kickstarter. And what we liked about Kickstarter is that at the same time we build a fan base, like a
community.
Yeah, we build a community around the game, which is really useful for many things. Like, it's useful to market the game, and it's also later useful to test the game. And it's a lot of resources that normally you would have to invest money to get. But now you get it for free in addition to the money that you get from Kickstarter.
I think also it allows you to test the waters ahead of time before like you even invest into a game. You just throw it out there, see if people seem interested in your project, and if you weren't successful with our Kickstarter, like I don't think we would have went ahead with it. We probably would have shelved that idea and done something else. So it's a good way to cut the cord on a project that's not going to be successful. So if you go with a bank or whatever, you won't really get someone's opinion on your project. They're just gonna loan you a bunch of money and then you have to pay it back somehow, even if it's a failure. So Kickstarter is kind of a safe plan, I guess.
Yeah. And before actually, I remember you telling me like there was a lot of work to be done before actually launching the Kickstarter. So what was that work? Like, was it like budgeting the game, like a game this scale takes that much money? Is it what kind of research are you making? What's the work before the site goes live and the fundraising goes live?
Yeah, evaluating the budget of the game is obviously a big part of it, but you also have to prepare the Kickstarter campaign because you have to build the page, have content on the page, you have the Kickstarter video to make, you have the rewards. Yeah, the rewards to plan. Yeah, it's a lot of work. You have also to make sure that the rewards won't eat all the money you're gonna gain from the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make sure you have to make sure that also when you launch your Kickstarter campaign, it's not happening at the same time as some big release or some other big event, because otherwise you're not gonna have any coverage from the media.
Talking about rewards, just wrapped up shipping all the t-shirts and promos like not too long ago. This is like almost 2 years later.
So how many, I remember the goal was 75,000, right?
Yeah.
That was what you initially asked for, 75,000?
Yeah. And reached 90 something?
116.
Yeah, 116. Well, and once that's reached, once the campaign is done, like how much money actually comes back to the company and stuff like that? Because there are different parties taking cuts and stuff, right?
Yeah, Kickstarter takes 5%, and then Amazon also takes 5%, and then you have the taxes from the government, which is in between 15 and 30%. So in the end, you have between 60,000 and 75,000. But you have to also subtract the cost of the rewards and shipping.
So we ended up having less money than the minimum money we asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was always...
But technically, for the Kickstarter user, we reached a higher goal.
Almost,
That we promised we would do more stuff. So it's just...
Well, it was kind of expected. Like, we knew that there were those costs. We hoped that we would get a bit more than our goal, but with our goal, it was the bare minimum we would need to make the game. Because
not even like make the game, but just survive while we're doing the game. Because that's one like misconception that people have about our campaign or any campaign, I guess. That's not the budget for Mercenary Kings.
Oh no, it costs you way more than that.
There's no way you can make a game with $75,000 minus the rewards. So yeah, it costs really much more. So the way I really saw it was somewhat of a loan to get us to ship the game, but like without really paying ourselves. Yeah, we even had a hard time thankfully there was early access that came around.
Yeah.
And that didn't really exist before when we started our Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, but it's funny because we wanted to do something like early access in our Kickstarter campaign, because what we wanted to do was actually to release like the basic version of the game and then add the additional features we wanted as free DLC afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
And early access happened to
do that.
appear at the right moment.
Was really awesome with early access, and that allowed us to really finance the rest of the game. And
would you do another game on early access if you didn't need the money?
I think it would depend on the game, because some games are more prone to this kind of model, but some other games maybe they're not going to work as well on early access.
Like, for example, Curses and Chaos would not work, but the game I'm working on might work.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Because when you're doing such a small game, I think you're actually going to have an overhead managing this, the community and everything around early access. and you're gonna make the process of developing your game slower than it would.
Yeah.
But when you have a big game like Mercenary Kings, it's actually better because it helps you balance everything.
And do you feel like you had to launch Mercenary Kings twice because of early access?
For sure. Because the early access launch actually made a big impression. It was like the bigger launch, and
it was
PC.
really our main launch was on early access. I think a lot of our sales came from the early access launch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most of the reviews from Rankings are still from the early access.
That's kind of like one of the downsides from early access.
I think maybe early access was too new. Like it was.
Yeah. People didn't know what
they
it
didn't
meant.
really know what it meant. Yeah, exactly. Like they just thought that was the game. That was the final product. I don't even think they do reviews of early access games anymore.
I think they do now, but they market, like, for example, on Giant Bomb, the quick looks for games that are in early access are called unfinished. Okay. So it's clearly stated, this is a video of a game that's not finished. We'll do another one when it's released.
But does that not, like, add a lot of confusion? Like, for people that aren't so savvy, they'll read something and be, like, maybe unaware that it is in early
But
access.
that's why even the journalistic side of it needed to adapt. Like, they needed to tag, like, articles that are, like, previews or, like, early access snapshot or whatever. So they were also learning as we were.
How long did it take you to reach your initial Kickstarter goal? Was it fast, or were you kind of sweating it out for a while?
It was around 2/3 of the campaign.
How long is the campaign?
1 month.
Okay.
So maybe 20 days. And then in the last few days, because usually a Kickstarter campaign has 2 peaks. Like the first peak is right at the beginning. You have a lot of people pledging. And then in the last 24 hours, there's another big peak at the end.
But the thing with Kickstarter too is like the bids aren't final until it's over. There's actually people that can withdraw. And you can see like dips too, where like maybe people did like $1,000 contributions, and then halfway through, if they see it's not gaining traction, they're like, "Nah, I'm just gonna take this out."
Yeah, it happens.
But you cannot remove a pledge that would make it lower than the goal.
Oh yeah.
So you cannot reach your 70,000 and be like, "Yay!" and then someone removes 1,000.
Oh, okay. So once you make the minimum bid, even before it's done,
nobody can remove 2 lower than 70,000, for example.
Oh, okay. They have to wait till it goes past and then go yoink.
Yeah.
But that rarely happens too. So
Was there a moment where it was not going so well and you thought this is not going to work out and you just bummed out, or were you pretty confident for most of it?
It was really stressful, but I think we were somewhat confident that it would make it, but it would take pretty much the whole duration of the Kickstarter.
That middle section was pretty
where nothing happens.
Where nothing happens was kind of stressful, because it's like, ooh, almost there, and then you stay there for like 5-6 days.
Yeah.
So would you do it again? I mean, now you have the clout that you've got a big game behind you.
Short answer is no.
Yeah, but is it because of the reward hassle, or is it because you could probably get a lot more money now faster based on your...
Well, I'm not sure if, because... Yeah, I'm not sure if we'd be able to make a lot more money with Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And like we said, we didn't make all that much money when you remove all the rewards and Kickstarter's cut and all that stuff. In the end, like maybe there was 40,000 left. I don't know. And
for how many copies of the game were given for that amount?
3,800 or something like that.
So you're not making as much money as you would have made by selling those, right?
Pretty much, but
it's about
also you have to kind of think that we had to invest a lot of time just dealing with Kickstarter stuff. So Jonathan spent a whole month full time before the Kickstarter launch, and then another month during the Kickstarter campaign, just creating updates and all that stuff.
And then it takes a month to get the money.
And then, it takes a little while to get the money.
And we started the Kickstarter when we were at a point where money was becoming quite an issue.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, now we need money. Let's do a Kickstarter 3 months later.
And, if you only have, if you have $40,000 of that, And that's still a lot of money, but when you think that $40,000 has to go into renting a space and being a salary for like how many people were working on the game.
Basically there was only one employee that had a real salary, and it was a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of us, we didn't pay ourselves real salaries. We just had like a super small pay just to survive.
And then there was more rigmarole with the Kickstarter because I think at the time it wasn't available to Canadians.
Yeah, it was only available in the US, so we had to have a US contact, like a member of the team had to have an address in the US. It was a bit complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also like the shipping part. Like we had to find places that print like t-shirts, make the actual t-shirts, posters, and all those rewards. Especially like the box copies, those were really horrible.
Yeah,
like,
it was another month or two of just trying to find people who can make boxes, people who can make foams for inside the boxes.
Yeah, you don't think of like, who makes the best foam?
Yeah.
Questions you never ask yourself.
Yeah,
we know.
Since the big corporations took over, you can't go to your local foam merchant anymore.
And then there's the actual shipping part where there was probably 2 weeks where like we just packaged
of physical labor, of actual tactile labor. That was sort of fun though.
That was definitely interesting. But so like in the end of that 40,000, like I don't know, maybe there's like 20,000 left. Like it's.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad, but there was a lot of overhead and not that much money comes back to the actual production of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think like the only reason I would do another Kickstarter is, like I said before, just to test the waters and see if like your idea sticks. And
but it's pretty severe these days also on Kickstarter. Like a lot of projects are either trying to go for the million or trying to just get like 50,000, and it's
I think a lot of companies now do a Kickstarter even if they don't really need to.
Yeah, it's a publicity tool now.
Exactly. Because, for example, if we do another Kickstarter, I'd have a different approach. Like because now we can finance our own game, so I'd use it to build a community and to have players early.
Like pre-orders.
Yeah, it's a bit like pre-orders, but your community get more engaged into your game because they in a way they participate to the production of the game.
I think a good way would be to maybe go to Kickstarter when we have a game at like 80 or 90% completion, and then put it up on Kickstarter to see how much effort we should put on adding stuff to that game. See if people are really interested. Then we can, if we get like $4 million, we can add like more content or more features or see what the people want or something.
And get pinball machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd probably hire people to just take care of the Kickstarter part and be able to focus on actually making the game rather than...
Mm-hmm. There are services just for that now, like especially the shipping reward stuff. It's all taken care of by other companies now.
Yeah, because that must be frustrating because all you want to do is make your game, but then you're just always managing that thing. Like on top of all the stuff you still have to manage to keep the company running, then there's the Kickstarter stuff on top of that gets in the way of the game you are financing.
Yeah, that's the main issue with it. It's that it's a big overhead. There are pros and cons for Kickstarter for sure.
Well, the fact that the company is here and it's grown is a proof that it works, right?
Yeah, it was good for us. Like Kickstarter was a good move, but in our current position, I wouldn't do another one.
All right.
And also, one thing to note is we actually somewhat did a second Kickstarter. It was handled by Off Base for like a strategy guide.
Oh yeah.
And that one failed. Unfortunately, they were asking for like 60,000 to make a strategy guide, and I think people didn't really get how for 75,000 they could get a game, and then for 60 you would get like a strategy guide. Well,
if you ask me, that's a bit too much because You can do an art book all by yourself and a friend, which is what I did.
Yeah, exactly.
When's that coming out?
It's done. I got the final copy that I have to check, proof it for errors and typos, because that's been the thing for the last couple of weeks. But I'll send you. I'll send it to you.
No, it's only for Kickstarter backers.
Yeah, but
and friends like our.
Yeah, but our art book is only digital, so it's a bit less expensive.
That's true.
I think the issue with the strategy guide is that they wanted to have like a premium item, like hardcover and a lot of art inside. They wanted to hire artists to do more artwork.
Talking about Kickstarter, what do you feel about like companies that do a campaign? It becomes enormously successful, like 4 times, 8 times as much as they ask, and they get millions of dollars. And then when they get to the dates where they're expected to deliver something and they come up short, how do you kind of feel about that? Like, do you ever feel like there's some abuse to Kickstarter, or do you think there's?
So of course there is, but it's like for me, it's obvious that it's normal. Like people are developing a game. And
absolutely, no one in the entire game industry is able to properly schedule production of a game. It's always late.
Also, because you promise a lot of stuff on Kickstarter, so you can't just like cut the features or scope it down to fit the release date. You can't, because you've promised everything for that date. So.
That's the thing that amazes me, though, is that it seems like even though there's been enough examples of like, hey, we only need this much, and they get like these large sums and they can't deliver, people are like, yeah, let's just keep, feeding the machine. It's like there doesn't seem to be an equally proportionate backlash against.
Well, there has been a backlash on Kickstarter because people don't trust as much. The people don't trust Kickstarters as much.
Right.
Like you need to have some kind of credibility and track record, and you need to be double fine to get money now. Like and even them, they're gonna, if they want to try to do a third one, because they made one for Massive Chalice also, they're probably gonna need to promise how can I say this? To prove that they can do it, because they're struggling with Broken Age a little bit, and people don't trust it as much.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. It seems like a lot of people just keep going back to the well, and people just keep throwing money into it. And it's just like, it almost seems like that becomes now their business model. It's more managing Kickstarters than...
Wasn't it Double Fine that did that spaceship game that they...
DF9? Yeah, that was an early access thing.
Okay, that was just early access.
But it's still one of those problematic promises. Is that you put a game on early access, you say it's going to be this like Dwarf Fortress kind of thing. It's going to have a lot of features. You see that it doesn't catch on, and you're like, well, we're going to stop updating it. But a lot of people have paid like $20, $25 to play that game, hoping that it'll become this big thing. So it's kind of... I think I read something this week where only a third of the games that have been on early access have been released.
Wow.
It is problematic. A lot of games are just not being released or not released as they were.
Plus there's probably like 10 times as many Kickstarters. Because of the successful ones, everyone's like, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
So we're part of the top tier.
Yeah.
You're the winners.
Quoted a lot. Like, people often reference Mercenary Kings when they talk about like early access games that made it.
Mm-hmm. Like, because it came out great and it went well, I guess.
It came out so good.
So good.
Yeah.
That's a bullet on the box.
Yeah.
It came out so good.
It came out so good.
There's actually a bullet in the box as well.
Yes, if you have a physical reward for Kickstarter, if you have a physical game, you had an actual game that's on a bullet-shaped USB key. So think about that when you fire up your time machine to go pledge in the past for Mercenary Kings.
And please don't hurt anybody with those.
Don't hurt. Don't hurt anyone. Period. Only use your USB bullets to store information.
Yeah, we're not responsible for any accidents.
Yeah. None at all. No responsibility here. Only with the money you've pledged to us and the thing we're sending you.
It is kind of fun too to have like a physical thing. Like, I mean, it's great. I love digital and stuff, but there is something very satisfying about holding a box,
and the box
reading a manual, and it's all like harkens back to old NES.
Yeah, it's like a trophy. Like, I helped make this thing.
Yeah.
More garbage.
Just one more piece of garbage on this planet, weighing it down, waiting until the planet shakes us off like ticks.
Yeah. Is that foam biodegradable? I don't know.
No. It makes the atmosphere worse because it's so durable.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think on that note, we better end the podcast until if we keep going that way, we'll reveal that Mercenary Kings is one of the ingredients to the end days, which we shouldn't.
That was a very serious podcast.
I think so.
Very professional.
Yeah. Well, we by the law of averages, there was bound to be one.
So, just to balance things out, next week, what should we talk about? We should talk about something really dumb and silly.
We should all work out a tight 5-minute stand-up routine.
All right.
A tight 5
Next week, I want to have the conversation about why people like Resident Evil 4 so much.
Oh, shit.
Save your opinions until next week.
Yes.
Okay, so there's gonna be. So you're not down with RE4?
I just to set it up for next week. I played Resident Evil 4 pretty late. I played it on the Wii. I didn't play it when it came out initially. I thought it was a good game. I didn't think it was a good Resident Evil game.
Okay.
And I don't understand why to this day everyone raves about that thing. You can all tell me next week.
I was just gonna leave you with 2 words: mercenary mode.
Okay.
There you go. So tune in for that next week. That's exciting. But in the meantime, where can we find us on the internet, guys?
Attribute Games.
Yes.
Oh, and me?
Attribute Games on Twitter.
I should just have my own little Tribute Games Twitter account to go through this every time. You can find us all at Tribute Games.
Yeah, find us all at Tribute Games.
Yeah, no, I'm at Dumb2D on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, everything.
All that stuff.
At PixelTel on Twitter and Tumblr.
Justin_Sears, CYR.
I'm somewhere in the city.
Yes. Look out behind you when you feel warmth and kindness. You will find Stefan.
Jeff Major with his 0 and 7-0.
Sorry. At Carl Kerschel on everything.
And I'm Eggboy Color on Twitter.
You can find Tribute Games at Tribute Games and on Facebook and on the internet in general. You can find me at Yannick Belzil on Twitter and on Instagram. On Instagram there's drawings and on Twitter there's a lot of silliness. So guys, thanks for listening to us and we'll be talking at you about games and such next week.
Bye-bye.